Now, it's one thing to have challenges in our career that cause a setback for us that are caused by external forces that we absolutely can't control. But it's a completely other situation to hold ourselves back. And so in this video, we're going to be talking about limiting beliefs, what they are, and how you can start to overcome them in your career. So it's very normal to have thoughts of self-doubt. We all encounter this at some point in our career where we enter a new role or a new situation. We have a bit of imposter syndrome, maybe a bit of self-talk around the vein of, I'm not good enough, or maybe I shouldn't be here, or maybe everyone else here is smarter than me. We might start to really doubt ourselves. But what we don't want is to have what is otherwise pretty normal self-doubt turn into systemic, limiting beliefs that hold us back, not just in the short term of our career, but beliefs that stick with us, that become ingrained and really hold us back, not just in the short term, like I said, but in the long term of our career. So we want to take those limiting beliefs, and sometimes these beliefs are little nefarious things that someone said to us, or we had a bad reaction in a certain situation, and that belief somehow just got in there. It just got ingrained and it stuck around. And if we didn't, or if we don't treat that belief and sort of nip it in the bud, rip it out, throw it away because it's no longer serving us, it can really hold us back, and it can actually start to poison other areas of our thinking and hold us back maybe from having the confidence and the belief in ourselves to step into new higher risk situations or new challenging situations that might really foster a lot of growth in our career. So we want to take those limiting beliefs, we want to smash them. We want to put them under the microscope. We want to analyze them and really break them apart, because it's only by putting a bit of focus on them that we put ourselves in a situation where we can actually deal with them and move forward. All right, so what are some actual limiting beliefs that you might encounter, or that you may have encountered at some point in your career? Well, it's things like, I'm not smart enough. I'm not worthy of this position or this role. Everyone else is smarter than me. Everyone's more experienced than me. I'm too shy, or I'm too talkative, or I'm the wrong person for this particular situation. I know for me personally, one of my limiting beliefs has been that I'm just not ready for this. I'm not ready for this opportunity. I'm not ready for this presentation, or I'm not ready for this. In terms of readiness, I don't mean I'm not prepared. It just means I don't feel ready for it. Like I'm not the person that is yet worthy for this opportunity or this role or this presentation, whatever it happens to be, just feeling ready for it. And in many cases in life, we get thrown into situations long before we're actually ready for them. And that's where you sort of find your feet, find your groove, and you sort of learn through the doing of the role, not necessarily always needing to be ready for it in order to take that next step, whatever it looks like for you in the stage that you're at in your career. But I highly urge you, as you're watching this video, maybe hit pause, get a pen and paper, and start writing down all the limiting beliefs that you can think of that you've encountered either in the past in your career, or that are affecting you right now and could be holding you back. And it can be anything related to your skills, your professional acumen and expertise and your knowledge, how you work with people, the current role that you work in, the current role that you're aspiring for, so the next best role that you're trying to work towards. Maybe you have limiting beliefs about a particular opportunity that you've always wanted to go after, or a side hustle you've wanted to start, a particular business you've wanted to work for. Maybe it's some big tech company, or maybe whatever it looks like for you. Start to put down all the limiting beliefs, and it's all the reasons that we make up for ourselves about why we can't have something. And a good way of thinking about it can be to take a particular role that you would love to have and list all the reasons why you can't have that role today. And in fairness, some of those reasons might actually be valid. You might not have the experience. You might genuinely not have the knowledge or the professional connections that you need to bring this opportunity to life. But really start to, once you put pen on paper, really start to look at, well, what's real here and what's imaginary? What do I really think is a genuine limiting circumstance that I can remedy, something that I can actually genuinely fix? And what is something that I've just made up in my head that's become a fear, right? What limiting belief is being affected by fear, and it's clouding your judgment about why you can't have a particular circumstance or opportunity? And it's one of those really cool things, right? Once you start putting pen to paper and really putting the spotlight on some of those things that might be sitting in your mind, or thoughts you've had, or an internal monologue that's been going on for a while, it's only when you really start to get it onto paper that you realize how much of this baggage that we're actually carrying all throughout our careers, and even in our personal lives as well. There are thoughts that we have about people, about ourselves, about situations that sometimes it's actually complete BS. So it's great exercise to do, really for all areas of your life, and really just put a spotlight on those dark areas of your mind that you just sort of run on autopilot to really sort of scratch the record and really analyze what's actually happening here. And these limiting beliefs in many cases are things that we pick up from external forces, right? Something that our parents might have said, something that we heard in one of our very, very first jobs. And I remember working back at university in some really just sort of crappy catering job. It was nothing fancy at all, but I was really interested in one of the people there who was a manager, who, I'll be honest, she kind of wasn't really the nicest person. And I remember asking her about, the fact that she was a manager and she looked after a pretty big group of people in a pretty high pressure catering environment. I remember asking her, what do you think it really takes to become a manager? And she point blank said to me, honey, you haven't got it. And I was like, mate, I'm like 20 years old. Firstly, I probably don't have it, but it was like such a weird thing to say because her role, let's be honest, was nothing special in the grand scheme of things. And she really had no place saying something like that to me. And it's funny, like I've never forgotten it, even though I knew at the time what she said was totally ridiculous. I'm at a very good point in my career now that if I look back, I'll have to say, hey, like, just so you know, fast forward 10 years, I'll be working in a really good corporate job for a multinational company. Look at me now. But especially when we're young and very impressionable, people can say things to us because of their own particular bias, and it can stay with us. If you don't take the time to really look at it and address it, it can sort of form part of your view of the world. And it could be a view of the world that's not accurate or that is flexible. You don't have to subscribe to that particular script or that particular narrative. You can form your own narrative. And that's one of the benefits of doing this exercise and getting it all out on paper and making a decision for yourself about what's real and what isn't. But we can also be influenced, like I said, by our parents, by earlier managers, by friends, by other family members, by early experiences in our career, and also just by the nature of the world that we grow up in. But the world is always changing. The corporate environment that existed when I first started my career 12-ish years ago versus where I am now in the state of play and the opportunity, like things like AI did not exist in terms of the scope and the penetration of this technology all throughout the world and all sectors and impacting many roles. So that creates its own new opportunity, which changes the narrative and could change the narrative for you about your career and the opportunities that might exist for you. So the game is always changing, the landscape's always changing, and this is why this exercise about getting all your limiting beliefs on paper can be a great exercise to do every 5 to 10 years or even every year, for example, just to really reassess where you're at, reassess or repivot your focus and your perspective and your goals and where you see some opportunities and also where you need to unlearn certain things. So this is another really core skill. If you want to keep moving forward in your career, it's obviously very important to keep learning new things, improving your expertise, improving on your weak areas, improving your skills and gaining new skills. But you also need to be looking at what are you carrying with you that no longer serves you in your career. So it's important not just to learn new things, but it's very important to unlearn things that no longer serve you. There might be things, traits that you have, skills that you have, ways of working that worked for you early in your career, in particular roles, maybe when you're a specialist, but when you become a leader, that way of working or that skill or that habit no longer serves you in the same way, and actually where it helped you propel you forward in your career, help you move from one role to the next and get promotions and all that great stuff. Maybe now in your career that's no longer serving you. Maybe it's actually holding you back. Great example can be all around delegation, because when you're early in your career, you often do all the specialist work yourself. You get told what work needs to be done by your manager or your boss or whoever, and then you go about doing that work. But when you start to lead a team, then you are doing less of the on-the-tools specialist work yourself. Then you have to be the person that steps back and delegates. And in some cases, it might be faster for you to do the work yourself because you've always done it and you know you'll do it right and all that sort of thing. But that doesn't help you foster a team, doesn't help you support your team. And so you need to delegate, you need to train, you need to build capability. So that's a good example of skills that will change over time, and having a skill that served you at one point in your career that no longer serves you. So you need to be open, you need to be flexible, and you need to do these reassessments or these self-check-ins pretty much every year. And it's a great way that many corporate companies will go through your development plan. And I honestly talk about this in so many videos because from my personal opinion and experience, your dev plan is one of the best foundations to really move forward in your career and build growth, in building your skills, building your expertise, and really having a clear focus of a few things that you want to go after for your development that are going to facilitate forward movement in your career. Like your dev plan is yours to shape because it should be helping you build new blocks onto the fortress of your career, making you a more valuable professional and a more insightful, smart, developed, and rounded professional, which can give you more flexibility in terms of the opportunities that will be available to you throughout your career. So I strongly urge you, if you've found value from this video, to really do this exercise and just go through it very deeply, to look at all these limiting beliefs and then go through them line by line and look at, is this kind of BS or does this actually make sense? Is this a genuine limiting belief or a limiting circumstance I need to go away and work on? Do I need to go work on making this limiting belief no longer a limiting belief, but something that serves you? Whether that is actually going and gaining more knowledge and building some new connections and talking to the right people, all that sort of great stuff. But then also looking at what is BS in this list of limiting beliefs and really work on trying to reframe what that limiting belief is, turn that limiting belief into a positive belief, or turning it into an opportunity. Well, I'm Will Vaughan from Your Career Mastery. I really hope you found this video helpful. Like I said earlier in the video, if you got value, don't forget to hit subscribe. And if you've got any questions, any feedback, any comments, leave it in the comments section below and I'll get back to you. And of course, I will see you in the next video. Cheers.